Well, I'm really glad I didn't wait for Alder Lake with their 12900K. Now, for some of you guys, though, it might make sense for you, and I'm basing this off of a Linus Tech Tips has actually accidentally published their video more than 8 hours ahead of the review embargo. So I'm making my video before the review embargo lifts, so by the time you watch it later in the day or tomorrow or whatever, maybe there's more reviews to go off of. But I'm doing this based on the Linus Tech Tips slides that apparently got released early and then taken down, which I think is absolutely hilarious. But it does mean I get to make a video today, because I didn't think I would, because I have parent-teacher conferences all day long. That is my day job, you know. Anyway, so in the review, they pit the Ryzen 5600X up against the 12600K from Intel's Alder Lake series, and then they pit the 12900K up against the 5900X and the 5950X. And so that's an interesting performance test. Now, they gave the Intel Alder Gen chips, Alder Gen, 12th Gen, geez, I'm tired, it's the morning, let me pop out of your way, Thanos snap. They give the Intel chips 16 gigabytes of DDR5 5200 at 38 CAS latency, and then on the Ryzen chips, they're using a more typical 3600 16 latency, so that's like similar to what I have in my system, although I have 32 gigabytes of it. So they're not hampering them at all really here in terms of that. Now they're using the operating system as Windows 11 Pro, and they've got the patch in that's supposed to be helping with the cache latency and all that on the Ryzen chips. Now, why did I say that I'm glad I didn't wait? Well, if you're more of a mid-range chip purchaser, the 5600X versus the 12600K is going to be extremely interesting here. And the Alder Lake chip does smash the 5600X, although it'll be curious to see where the prices actually iron out on that. Because if it just means the 5600X ends up getting cheaper, that might still be the chip to buy, depending on what actually happens with the 12600K pricing. So that'll be interesting. Now, personally, I bought a 5950X, and I bought it mostly for video editing. So I'm very interested in productivity and not just gaming, although I do also use it for gaming. Let's hop in here and just kind of see the gaming recap. So I'll link this article in my description. Let me disappear again. So basically, the 12600K versus the Ryzen 5 5600X, we see the 12600K having a lead, although it's not huge. It is a noticeable lead in everything except for Flight Sim 2020. LTT doesn't do a massive gaming test benchmark. They do 5 games. Now, in terms of the 12900K versus the 5950X and the 5900X, again, the 12900K does seem to have a slight lead in most games except for Flight Sim. Although against my 5950X here, it's not a huge lead. And then what matters for me is more of productivity. And in productivity, we see the mid-range chips, the 12600K versus the 5600X. This is where the 12600K with those extra efficiency cores and things seem to be doing a fantastic job against the 5600X. Check that out. But when we jump over to versus the 5950X, which is the yellow graph here. So the 12900K versus the 5900X, the 12900K does have a performance lead here. But against the 5950X, it loses in every single app tested. So that's what I said. That's what I meant when I said, I'm glad I didn't wait for Alder Lake, considering my main reason for buying a 5950X was for 4K video editing, and I also wanted strong gaming performance. It looks like I was correct that the 5950X would at least match, if not beat, and it looks like it does beat the 12900K for productivity, and they're extremely close in gaming benchmarks. LTT also did some looks at the power consumption of the chips, and you'll notice the 12900K here is significantly more power hungry, and that's, you know, something to deal with when it comes into cooling, as well as something to think about in terms of the long-term cost of running the chip. That does increase your energy bill. And then let's see. So this is on a different benchmark. It's looking like the power consumption here is a lot closer, so you can look into the details of what that is. I don't want to like steal their entire full review, but I just wanted to use it to make my conclusions. So basically, I think if you want to get these chips, there's a lot more to think about. I've done some other videos on this. You want to think about if you want to be kind of an early adopter on all this, how does it work with the gaming anti-cheats and things like that, compatibility issues. So for me, to see that the at the high end with the 5950X, the gaming performance is slightly better on the 12900K. The productivity is slightly better on the 5950X. I feel like that's a wash for me, but at the mid-range, it's looking like, depending on where the pricing actually irons out, that might be the chip to buy over the Ryzen chips, but I'd also look into what it does lowering those prices. So this could be a good way to go, but as I said in one of my other videos, really think about if you want to be an early adopter on all of this new stuff, the extra costs and hassles that could be involved in the big little design, Windows 11, all of that. So make sure that's really for you. I hope all of you have an excellent day.